Welcome to CPG Vibes. No script, just chat. We talk all things food and beverage and so much more. Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review. If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service or be a guest, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com. Now your hosts, me, Alex Bear with Genius Juice, and Wade Yenny. All right, welcome to episode 69 of CPG. That's Consumer Packaged Goods for those that don't know, but everyone knows that. You guys know. We are here. We have a special guest we're going to bring on momentarily. But before we do that, the big news of the month, Wade has a new background, which is not virtual. It is a new home. How are you settling in there, buddy?
It's new to me. Let's just, with asterisk, we'll say that. We're settling in pretty well. I have a few things left to move over this way, but for the most part, we are here and enjoying it for sure.
Awesome. Was the move pretty smooth over the weekend?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It's never fun. It doesn't matter if it's half an hour away or 18 hours away. It's never a good time, but it was pretty smooth all in all.
Cool. All right. So what room are you in now? What is it termed? Is it the CPG Vibes room or what is it?
Well, I was going to say, I was talking to our guest before, when you were taking your break before the show started, and he asked if it was a bedroom or an office, and I answered yes. So it's our third bedroom that is now my office. So we're enjoying it for sure. Nice.
Reminds me of the first place I moved into after college, where my coworker's like, "So, how's your office?" I'm like, "You mean my bedroom?"
Right.
Roll out of bed.
It's working out because I've added a second screen here, which I didn't have previously, and
nice.
We're getting a little bit of decor behind me, which you can't see because I'm covering up right now. Cool. So, but we got a couple posters. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see if wrong way. See, I'm in the way. If I stand up, you might be able to peek in that corner.
Yeah, I see him.
That's the Cleveland Cavaliers cornhole board. So for their championship season. So that's in the background as well. So good stuff.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on moving into your new place.
Thank you.
And the new CPG Vibes co-headquarters, because part of it's here, part of it's there, bi-coastal.
Exactly.
So some laundry list items, because we want to not spend too much time, make sure we have enough time with our guest so we can hear the full story about Brandjectory and everything that he's up to. Laundry list items, if you'd like to sponsor our show, cpgvibes100@gmail.com. If you'd like to be a guest, cpgvibes100@gmail.com. Make sure to email us. There is a sponsorship program. It's filling up fast. Part of the year is already booked. We have an introductory rate of $350. You'll be a featured sponsor on the show. We'll mention you in the beginning, middle, and the end, and we'll even show your product as well. So really, really good stuff. Make sure to email us if you'd like to be a guest. Same thing. There's a long ass wait. When I say long ass, that can mean a lot of things. It's at least a few months or more. But you know what? If you're really cool, we might move you up. We'll see. We can always pull things here at CPG Vibes, right?
Absolutely.
We're very convincing to our board of directors. All right. So anything else? Think we can get going, right?
I would say for the people, because I know we've got a pretty decent crowd that's here now.
Yes.
Just to call out now that if you're new to the show, or in case you haven't been on for a while, we we are sponsored this week by somewhat of a celebrity himself, Mr. Hank Watt from Nature's Wildberry. And at some point during this conversation between Alex, myself, and our guest, we're going to ask a question at the end of the episode. And whoever can answer that question about something we've talked about, so you have to pay attention, will win the prize. So pay attention, stay tuned, and stay with the show till the end, and you might be able to win, like I said, Mr. Hank Watt, most recently of Shark Tank. And
Congratulations.
He's coming off a great deal there. So, stay tuned, and maybe you can try out what's soon to be nationally famous if it's not already, right?
Exactly. Also 5 stars. I forgot that one because there's so many things going on and moving parts. So 5 stars, Apple Podcast, Spotify, if they even do a star system there. We're at 85, 15 away from 100. Road to 100 continues. And a couple comments here real quick. Hank Watt, hey all. Michael Bonicato, Arizona represent. Grace Steinkraus, she won last week, right? The prize with Scott Hartman for the baby water and some other waters. So Rats Wade, Richard Monez with Rich Insights. Happy Friday. Billy Jackson of Jimbo's. Now I can listen in Thursday traffic. And we are Thursday, not Friday today.
That's right.
All right. So without further ado, our guest here, I'm going to pick some music, which probably doesn't even fit at all who he is, but we have limited selection here right now. So limited. We need to raise more money.
I was going to say, so we can get some music rights, right?
Exactly. We need music rights to at least Metallica, Mumford and Sons. So anyway, I'm just going to put in, it's called Acoustic Cinematic. It actually fits him pretty well. I like this terrific one. It has kind of an Irish Celtic theme going on. Tom Malengo, co-founder of Brandjectory and Litchfield Fund. How you doing?
Good. I'm Italian. Accordion music would have been a little,
I thought he was going to go for Sinatra.
Maybe Mom had a squeeze box, kind of music.
I thought he was going for Sinatra.
That would have fit me. Sinatra. That would have fit me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have the...
Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And you got the Celtic cross. You got a cross in the background.
I got a Celtic cross. That's what's going to put it in your head. I got the Celtic cross.
I think so. Very subconscious. Very
subconscious thing there. Subconscious thing going. And you're wearing your Brandjectory shirt. We haven't printed up new logo shirts yet. I got my old one on too. Yep. But we got to get new hats and new shirts printed up. And we haven't done it yet. We haven't had a chance.
Yeah. So the new logo, who was that? Was it just like an internal designer, or who did it?
Actually, our marketing intern, Jenna Kissel, we gave her some ideas. We used Bright Design, to actually help us design the website itself. But we had a lot of thoughts about how the logo should look, and we gave them to Jenna, and Jenna did a fantastic job for us.
Nice.
She's been with us a little over a year now, and she's really much more than an intern. But she that's how she started with us, so we still call her our marketing intern, but she really is sort of our marketing director in some ways.
Love it. And kind of the history too is I met Tom in 2016. He's an early as pretty much it gets, investor in Genius Juice, and he was on our advisory board for just many years. And so I really thank you for the years of working together on Genius Juice. Obviously still avid supporter of our brand. And then a few years back, you told me about this idea to connect brands with investors. And here we are a few years later with Brandjectory. So tell us about you. Tell us about Brandjectory. And then also comments are coming in. So we'll make sure to field those as they come in.
I got to say one thing before Tom gets too far into Brandjectory, because I'm going to interject and have him answer something before he gets into Brandjectory, which is good. In my opinion, it's going to be a good segue. So as Alex mentioned, you were a early investor for Genius Juice. So segueing into Brandjectory, what did Alex say or do, or what about Genius Juice, the brand, appealed to you back then to be an investor? And then let's take it from there to go into Brandjectory. I think it'd be good for everyone to listen. Yeah.
So I can tell you this story. It's real quick. Susan and I were in Whole Foods. It was early summer of 2016. We were in Whole Foods. We saw Genius Smoothie on the shelf. Okay. Susan loves coconut. I really don't like coconut. I don't like coconut, like the grainy coconut in my mouth. I never have. I brought it home. I took a sip of it. I loved it. I posted it on Twitter, maybe Alex, Twitter or LinkedIn. I don't even remember now.
It was your Litchfield Fund on Twitter. I
Okay,
believe.
it could have
Yes.
been. Yeah, that's, I posted. I said this stuff's great, and Alex, being a hustler even 7 years ago, within a day, okay, he reached out to us, and we just started talking. Susan and I had invested in 2 or 3 other brands by that point in time. And we loved the product. This was one of those where we just loved the product. We loved Alex, and it just made sense for us to be part of it. Probably, I'm looking at Susan, probably Genius is probably the thing we drink most in the house. Maybe we drink more kefir and almond milk just because it fits more things. But Genius is probably one of our top 3 drinks in this house. And you probably find 6 or 7 in there. And Whole Foods is our place to get it now that Sprouts doesn't have it on the shelf much anymore. So we get it at Whole Foods, and we stock up with as many as they have, and usually we clear off the shelf.
That's great. That's a great story.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stories in between about, because this is a hard product to make, right? Blending coconut water and coconut meat. It seems easy, but to scale that, cracking open coconuts.
So Susan and I, we invested Alex in August, okay? In November, first week of November, Susan and I, it's beautiful. We're in Arizona. It's gorgeous. It's 78 degrees. The sun is shining. Right. It's like about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We take off and we go to Mountain View. And Mountain View, you have at the northeast end, you have Thompson Peak you're looking at. And if you turn around, you walk to the southwest, you got Camelback and you got Mummy Mountain. And it's beautiful. Alex calls and he says, we have no one to make the product. Okay. You were out of your co-packer. There was no co-packer available. Okay. And what Alex did, now this is something that we can get into with, when we start talking about Brandjectory and young brands and all that stuff. Alex managed for more than a year, okay, to keep his buyers happy. Okay. He managed to talk to people. He relied on his relationship. He put out an almond drink, that superfood drink that they kept on the shelf. And he was able literally to, a year later, fall of 2017, get launching with Genius Juice again. And Alex, that's credit to you that you knew that you had to keep those relationships tight in order to survive. And he did it through a time where he had no product. I mean, he literally had no product. Okay. And what you were putting on the shelf was merely a placeholder. It wasn't doing you any good at that point in time. So credit to you, my man.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, man, that means so much to me, Tom. And those words are so great. And it's just, it was such an incredibly hard time. It was so stressful. And you remember you were getting emails from me in the middle of the night because I was also working with Thailand where we get our coconuts. And it's funny because you would see an email at 3:20 a.m. and then you would see another email at 7 a.m. You're like, Alex, did you sleep through the night? So it's just, that was a crazy year of just getting things back on track.
And I can't tell you the number of times I had to walk out of a restaurant or walk out of Whole Foods because Alex was on the phone, right? Now, it's Arizona, right? It's 112 outside, right? And I'm standing, pinning myself up against the buildings, trying to get a little bit of shade, talking to Alex. And Susan's in a restaurant eating alone or finishing the shopping at Whole Foods or Sprouts. Well, I'm standing outside talking to Alex because something happened. It wasn't going to work. They couldn't get this percentage of water. They could only get that percentage of water. It just went back and forth for a full year.
Yeah, but with your guidance, I think a lot of it was emotional support, just keeping my head in the game, keeping me positive. I was motivated to make this happen and turn things around. But having you just on the other end of the phone call anytime really helped me get through that hard time. And then we not only came back, but then 2 years after that, we relaunched, eventually got into more Whole Foods, got on Shark Tank. So that moment of almost basically dying as a brand and then coming back, finding a great partner in Thailand, making the product again after 1 year, getting almost all of our shelf space back makes for a really great, inspiring story, But of course you can't do it alone. You need a great team of advisors and people. And
So when Alex
where
was on
this year
Shark
came in.
Tank, Susan and I were the phone a friend or whatever.
Yeah,
they call
that's
it.
right. I remember that. Yeah.
And you can't. If you're ever, and maybe Hank could would talk to this, but you can't hear what's going on. You hear something, you kind of hear Alex singing, and you hear a few you hear anything that comes above a certain pitch. And every once in a while, some producer would get on and say, "Oh, just hold on. There's no questions yet, but we didn't know what was going on. We're standing here. We're standing in the living room. We're too nervous to sit down. We're standing in the living room. We're hanging on the phone like this, trying to hear what it was just. It was kind of funny to be on that end, not having any idea what was going on,
Right.
and it was just kind of weird.
And whether you were going to actually get a call or not. And what Tom is talking about, and this happens very rarely on Shark Tank, is, you're presented a deal and you can say to the sharks, if they let you, will you excuse me? I need to call one of my, board members, advisors. And Tom was listed as the sole person that I could call, the phone a friend, if I needed help. But I do remember the night that we aired on Shark Tank, the first text I got, which was right before it aired on the East Coast, was from you. And you're like, 3 words. Here we go. Here we go. The rest is history.
That's great. So Tom, I kind of railroaded the Brandjectory piece, but I thought it would be good to give a little bit of background about the relationship there with you and Alex. And so going to Brandjectory, so the idea came from, and I guess along with that was, you mentioned being invested in a couple other brands aside Genius Juice. Was that something that just kind of wet your whistle and you're like, man, I want to get into this and do more? Or what was it ideally that made you make that jump and go with the Brandjectory, and obviously tell us a little bit about what it is?
Yeah. So Susan and I got here because, we had our corporate careers in Cleveland, Ohio. And, we were the types that years ago ran around looking for healthy products long before the internet told us what they were. And we grew up with the products of the early 90s. Alex probably remembers these, Wade for Shirley, when Barbara's and Pamela's and, Pirate's Booty was considered healthy, right? Okay. This was new, Amy's, Annie's. These were the early 90s brands that were slightly better for you. And so we were just the brand followers and things like that. And then when we had the chance to change careers, I got bought out after 30 years, we went to a couple of trade shows and we just went to look at products, and, we said, what can we do? And we said, well, we have business skills. Let's advise and consult young brands. And that led us to invest in a few brands, a few other brands we worked with. We met Alex, worked with him. But we continued to realize, and we knew this was the case from being at the trade shows, how difficult it was for young brands to get from seed to Series A. It's not just about finding investors. It's not just about having money. You have to learn how to build a business. You have to learn how to use with distributors. You have to learn how to use brokers. You have to learn what you can do, what you can't do, what size you should grow to, how fast you should grow, all those things. And it was after Expo West. I was talking to Mike Movitz on the phone. We had just met each other. And we were just talking about how difficult this process was. And it came to us as there's no real systematic thing to do that. There's nothing that says, here's the content, here's the process, here's the contacts, here's the networks. How do you give that to a young brand? And if we do it individually, I can only work with Alex and 3 or 4 other brands. If we come up with some kind of systematic process where brands can engage in it, work with it every month, meet people, learn more, hear from different people, get connected, suddenly we had something that a lot of brands could come to. And that's what led to Brandjectory. Okay. And Susan and I and Michael and early on some folks from JPG, we really got into talking about how that would work. And over the years, we learned as entrepreneurs, we learned what to deliver. And, we think we're close to delivering what brands really, really need. We have now almost 140 brands on the platform. We've got 650 investors in our network, 100 that are actively participating. We have 6 or 7 regular meetings a month where brands can meet investors, work with investors, get content from industry experts, get mentored by industry experts. Everything about Brandjectory is designed to help brands get the knowledge, the contacts, the input, the learning from industry experts so they can grow from seed to Series A. Tough in any environment, tougher today, but we're there to help them get that information that helps them grow. And I don't want to spend time talking about how Brandjectory works, because we'll talk to anyone individually. We'll connect with them. We'll share with them. But, I think what we're doing is different. We're not an incubator. We're not an accelerator. We're not there for 13 weeks. We're not a list of mentors that you get during those 13 weeks that you can continue to call out to. We're adding mentors. We're adding people that want to be involved today. We talked to a great investor today, someone we've known for years, who wants to work closer with us and be part of what we do. And that's what we're excited about. We think we're creating a incredible community that is going to help these brands really accelerate. Not everybody can be the tops. Not everybody can be the best. But people can build solid businesses, and then they have a chance. And that's what we want to do. We want to give everybody that equal chance where investors look at them and say, I know you have a next step. I can be part of that. That's what Brandjectory is about.
Very inspiring. And what really resonates with me from the brand angle, because that's what this show is about, is I'm from the brand side. Wade is from, more of the buying, corporate, center store side, is that there's so many great brands that are in that stage, right? That you've invested in. High quality, premium, great mission, has a chance of actually succeeding with the right support and the right resources, and Genius Juice is in that bucket, right? And so I love how that you're getting and targeting really those companies that are like coming along, they're growing, but they're having trouble getting funding and really getting going to get that critical scale. So it's a great place.
And they don't know the people. They don't know the people. They don't, they just don't know. I mean, someone asked me yesterday, do you have a contact here? No, but I have this contact that can get you to that contact. These are the things we try to do, because you didn't know. I mean, what you know today, Alex, compared to what you knew, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, is amazingly different. Okay, you've built this network. You can reach out to different people. You can make changes in your business. But a company that's at 750,000 in sales and trying to get to 1.25 doesn't have those contacts and doesn't know that they can go from here to here, or there may be someone better that can help them. And they can get that through us. We may not even be the ones, but they can go into our mentoring platform. They can select a time to mentor with someone who may have those contacts, someone in that segment of the industry, and they lead them to the right place. And that's what we're about.
Cool. Tell us about your partners, and more so not just their involvement in Brandjectory, but like, Jeff Grog, Michael Movitz. Tell us about your crew that you have on board.
Well, Brandjectory, the operating partners right now are me, myself, and Susan. And Michael. I did me, myself at the same time there. That was weird. Okay, me, Susan, and Michael. I meant to say Michael. Michael comes from a background of Spins. He was at Spins for almost 20 years. He was the 12th employee at Spins. So he was one of the first ones on to Spins. He worked there, and then he broke off to mentor, coach, help young brands get to market, building their pitch decks, working with them on their numbers, with them and understanding their position in the industry, how they would succeed. Jeff Grog and JPG, they're co-mans. They are incubators in the sense of they'll help a brand understand how to build their product, how to build their packaging, how to get to market. They do a lot more than that. Jeff and his team was in there as we sort of started to develop the platform and things like that. And then Susan, my lovely Susan, who's sitting over there, typing questions in or something to stump me, I guess. She is the product maven. I mean, she has searched out everything and everyone and every place. People see her on LinkedIn and Twitter, I'm sure. But Susan has lived this, I guess, early days with her family, running around to health food stores to find things healthful. That were healthy. And, when she went to school, I think she encountered her first Whole Foods in Palo Alto. And that was her first experience with Whole Foods. And when we were going on road trips, we didn't have a Whole Foods in Ohio. We had the mustard seed, right? Okay.
Yep.
And we would drive down to Fairlawn. And, from where we lived, that was 25, 26, 27 miles. We'd drive down in the dead of winter after work, coming home in the dark in a snowstorm down 271, right? And you know what I'm talking about. Yep. I mean, literally hanging by our teeth on the road to get home with our groceries, okay? But if we were on a road trip, we would stop at a Whole Foods if there was one, load up the car. The old Lucky's in the Midwest. You remember that, Wade? I don't know if Alex does.
I remember the Lucky's. That was and I get really confused about the history of Lucky's because there was Lucky's that's in Colorado. There was like 20 something. Those shut down 4 or 5 years ago. There's the Lucky's in Ohio. And then when I was growing up here in Southern California, there's Lucky's in California, which became like Ralph's, or someone else moved into their building.
Lucky's got bought by Kroger, I think. Wait,
yeah,
okay, so that's the story.
I was going to say the Lucky's in Colorado, Alex, that you're talking about, had a store in Cleveland that I'm guessing Tom is talking about. And then Kroger was, I think my memory is that Kroger was put some money into them prior to them folding up and just going away. I think that was, I think Kroger pulled the money or
decided to shut them down.
Exactly.
So the company, Lucky's in Southern California and the Lucky's in Colorado and Ohio, same company. And then Kroger.
I don't think California was with Colorado.
So Kroger acquired the ones in California and they became Ralph's out here. The other ones, Colorado and Ohio, Kroger invested, but then they folded them up.
Yep.
Okay. You could see how that could be really confusing.
Yeah. So we used to stop at all those stores. We were on a road trip. We were coming home from a football game someplace. And we'd stop and pick up groceries to stock the house up. So that was we were always these sort of people that just loved the industry. And I guess we kind of just knew that there would be a second career in food, and it turned out to be this. And now with Brandjectory, we get to talk to so many brands, and Alex, I was always talking to brands on the phone. We talk about, I talk to this person. Do you know I'm here? After I talk to someone, but now, we are regularly talking to brands. We're regularly interfacing with brands, and, we just try to pass along what knowledge we can and, help them use Brandjectory as best as they can.
Cool. So what's, tell us about, also just your story, because I want to point out too, on the personal side, that Wade, from Ohio, right? We know that. Tom, also from Ohio, Cleveland, the Litchfield, right? Originally.
Susan's family's from Litchfield, Ohio. That's why we were the Litchfield Fund.
So you moved out to Arizona. I don't need to state the obvious. Change of scenery, better weather. Is that the main reasons you wanted to go to Arizona?
Yeah, I guess, we wanted something different. We had been in Cleveland our full life. Susan spent 5 years in California in college. We traveled the West on vacations, and I've been to more parks than Susan, but we've been all over the West in the parks and stuff over the years. And I guess we just, we wanted to, go somewhere else besides Cleveland and Arizona. We were out here vacationing a few times, so Arizona seemed to make sense. So we ended up out here, and it's a little far to the East Coast, when, you got to go to Expo East or something, you have to think, okay, how, am I up for the trip? But other than that, that's why we ended up here was, having spent some time different than Ohio for our lives. So, but we're Clevelanders. I'm from the East side. Susan's from the West side. We met on a blind date. And Alex, you celebrate your anniversary June 3rd. I think it's what?
Yeah, exactly right.
Look at that memory.
Wow.
Susan told me 6. Yeah, Susan said 6, and Susan and I on the 4th we're celebrating our 25th. So we'll have been together 25 years. So
congratulations.
We're quickly approaching 3 decades.
Yeah, time flies when you're with the right person.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff. So I'm going to reset the room here because there are some comments that came in, and I want to also just Tom is so well connected in general in this industry, the CPG industry. Plus, with Brandjectory, he can really help your brand get on his platform, brandjectorynow.com. Especially if you're a younger emerging brand, there's so many resources, masterclasses, webinars, everything that he said that I will screw up if I try to say it. But let's go to it because you can't ask questions. Like, this is not recorded. This is live, and if it is recorded, it really looks like it's live. We're doing a great job to pretend it's live. But let's go through some comments here. It's like when I used to watch WWF or WWE, I'm like, oh, it's live, like live WWF Raw. I'm like, it's live, but it's like, it's obviously taped, but live just sounds so much better. Right, Wade?
Exactly.
All right. Got to get some ET Stone Cold in there. All right, so let's get some comments going. Hank Watt, who's our sponsor with Nature's Wildberry. Congratulate. I think I already did that one.
I was going to say you went back.
Already did that one. My memory is definitely not as good as Tom's here. Okay, let's go to Gregory Estlinger. Thanks, Hank, for the samples. Bought some lemons today to test them out. That's for the Nature's Wildberry.
There you go.
Andrew Arbogast, happy Thursday. He's becoming a regular. I love this guy. Thanks for being on. The spirit of Friday on a Thursday. You can see why, folks, we changed our name from Friday Vibes to CPG Vibes. This is a great example. You don't want to listen to us going into Memorial Day weekend on Friday. You know, we wanted to do a day early.
Right.
So Allison C., hi, everyone. The origin story about Genius Juice. Susan Bryanton. She's a stone throw away, not even a stone throw from Tom. She is in the same room. Genius Juice Day. Thank you guys for the love. Remember the Shark Tank time. And also super inspiring. And also, I just want to point out, too, because it's just a big shout out, because I love this guy, is Aaron Gailmore over at Brassroots. You invested in them before they were even Brassroots.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, and they were on Shark Tank. You know, they had, we talked about it by text, and, you know, it's obviously something that, you know, is apparent that he did a great pitch, and the editing I thought was unfair to him. Like, it didn't really tell his entire story. But Shark Tank does that kind of shit to so many brands where, like, they take out the good, they put in more of the difficult situations that puts the entrepreneur to the test. But one thing that people need to know about Shark Tank, this is my masterclass on Shark Tank now, but that you sign a contract, and in that contract, they say, and you've reviewed these contracts because we did this together. You did it probably with Aaron too at Brassroots. They can take any of the clips, edit it however they want, rearrange it however they want. They could have me saying, that sounds great, me saying that, and they could edit it and match it and move it up to Mr. Wonderful saying, you're an idiot. Do you know that? I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. So, you know, that's what's unfair about the show, even though it's a great show and I love it and appreciate the exposure that we have with Genius Juice. But yeah, that was definitely a little rough.
It's the beauty of reality TV, right? I mean, it's pretty much, my wife and I were watching a show, which I'm not going to name because I'm ashamed that we watch it, but it's that whole magic with the editing, so that you think one thing's going to happen because of what they let you see, and you didn't really see what happened, and so you're kind of caught off guard, surprised when something else. It's interesting to say the least, right?
Even reactions, right? Like, I mean, I don't even remember saying "I love you, Barbara" in my episode. I'm like, and if I did, I'm like, I said that. I must have been just under the lights, and you know, it was such a surreal experience. But like, and I remember when they offered the deal to me, and I had a reaction like that. I'm like, I did not react like that. That was an earlier reaction, like earlier in the pitch, stuff like that.
You know, they do that because, you know, sometimes that, you know, they'll you know, somebody's like, you know, it's something that's said, and you know, all they did was, you know, take that clip and extend it, you know, so that the person looked like their jaw had dropped. I remember watching you, and it was like, yeah, that doesn't seem like Alex would have done that right then. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So, but you know, they just had the season finale last week, and it's been a really, really good season. And you notice too, getting off track here, that they kept the chairs far apart from each other because they did the COVID season, which was at the Venetian in Las Vegas, and the chairs were really far apart. I mean, it was like a semicircle around the entrepreneur. And then they brought him back a little closer post-COVID. But before, it was like all four of them were lined up this far away from each other. And Michael Pan, who was on the show, he said he couldn't even hear. There was so much cross noise going on that he accepted a deal with Mark Cuban, but he couldn't even hear what was going on over here because it was in the COVID season where they were so far apart. So I did talk with a lot of entrepreneurs that went on that season that had trouble hearing all the sharks. And then on top of that, they were in quarantine at the Venetian in 2020. So they had to stay in the hotel. Imagine this, up to your taping, right, which could change your life, and you're nerve-wracked, and it's a big deal for your company. you're stuck in the Venetian hotel room for 5 days prior to the show. You can't even leave. So interesting, right?
Definitely.
Nice.
So we got off track a little bit, but going back on any questions for Tom, you can list it here. So Tom, what else do you want to talk about? Because it's no script, just chat. We're deferring to you because we're out of things to talk about on our side.
Well, no, I was going to say there was at least one question here. We'll just go through a couple more because I think we're there. Andrew was talking about brokers and relationships as far as how helpful it's been. Those connections. Lex piggybacked on that a little bit, talking about the relationships. Andrew said, range me premium for 1K, I might add. This one, here's a question here from Lex. For small startup snack brands, who do you currently recommend as the preferred distributor for Walmart?
I'll ask Wade that one. That sounds
that's a Wade question.
Like a Wade
question. Well, I was going to say that's a distributor and that's Walmart, so it's a kind of outside my expertise.
Yeah.
Because and Alex, I don't know, someone here might know. I correct me if I'm wrong. I think Walmart is primarily self-distributed, right?
I was going to say
they're self-distributed. I was just going to say that. So you almost would have to piggyback off of a DSD or something like that. And I would guess those are probably larger size DSD, like, the Fritos and the, those guys of the world. But if anyone else knows that, please chip in. But
I was going to say they self-distribute. I think they have warehouses all over the place. They're getting deeper into automated fulfillment for their warehouses, and autonomous last mile delivery to their stores from the warehouses. So there's a lot of that going on at Walmart, and they're very progressive in using the autonomous networks and the robotic warehouses. So I'm not sure there's much in terms of self-distributed in DSD from Kenny. Who knows? We should know.
And Sean Berg is also right, where certain regions, warehouses, they use KeHE, just depending, especially if you're a newer brand. And this kind of goes along with just other distributors in general. When you're smaller and you're launching in a limited number of stores, you use a distributor, right? Maybe local, maybe national. But then once you get big enough, the retailer says, you're now moving in a volume where I want you in our warehouse, and we're going to bring you in to our warehouse. Albertsons, Vons, Pavilions works exactly the same way. You start at Melissa's or High Touch when you go into Pavilions or Albertsons. And then once you get large enough, they're like, okay, we'll give you some pallet space on the floor. I've always been a big fan of direct. We can go into hours on this, but better margins. The retailer gets the product faster. They're honestly going to turn it faster into the store. It's speed to shelf. It just goes right on their shelf. Publix is very well known for their self-distribution, and they do a great job. I've said that before on the show. There's another question here.
This is where I was headed. Yep.
Yeah.
Tom, do you have any research partners or design partners that you work with? Does Brandjectory make recommendations for services like that?
We will make recommendations. We don't make wholesale recommendations. We want to make sure that if we're talking to somebody and they say they need somebody, we're telling them who that person is. We have 75, 80 folks in our mentor coaching program. And every time I work with one of our brands on Brandjectory, and part of Brandjectory is a brand builds their profile, and then they have a profile review usually with me, sometimes with Michael if I'm busy, but usually it's me. And we go through their profile and we go through every aspect of their business and their pitch deck. And then we get into the conversation. They say, I have a problem with this. I have a problem with that. What's great about what we have is I can say, go to the mentor platform, go into the orbit. That's what we call it. Go into the orbit, pick this person, talk to them. They will give you that reference. Okay. We are partnered with all kinds of folks, all kinds of strategy folks, all kinds of folks that'll do that kind of research with you. We have several design partners in there. And of course, just in our own network, if it's not within the mentor system, we can direct them to that person who can help them. But we want to make sure we're doing that recommendation based on, hey, it's a brand your size. You don't want to go here. They're not going to be able to give you that the way you want it. You're going to have to go here Okay. And this is the kind of person or company that can work with you at the size you are in a way that's priced right for you. And you're not going to be paying for something you don't need, or something that you just can't afford and isn't the right time for you to do.
Yep, exactly. And one thing I wanted to also chat about, since we're talking about resources, distribution, and Wade, I want to get your thoughts on it. We talked about it, I think maybe 10 episodes ago, is private label, and going back into that. It seems like, I have a friend of mine that runs a company where they exited out of retail with their brand, and they have a very good product. They do all their own manufacturing, and they decided to go into private label and start selling into different retailers. And now they're doing tens of millions, and no chargebacks. A lot of the retailers pick it up at their warehouse, right, in New York or in LA, because they're the ones that it's their brand on the label. And they got Trader Joe's, which is well known for private label. Is this like, you think more food brands should be going in that direction for private label given the financials, or what are the downsides to private label?
Downsides to private label.
Upsides and downsides, I should say.
So number one, it depends on your commitment to private label and your ability to get private label. So, you look at the different areas I've been, in California, we had no private label, really. I mean, outside of, maybe some store produced items. In Ohio, we were focused on the basics when I left. In fact, we had actually gone through a spell where we had eliminated some, because what was happening was, as a 13 store at the time chain, trying to find a packer for some of those items was challenging, and beyond that, being cost effective. So by the time I was buying at that time, I'll use the snack category, potato chips. And typically, if you're in a private label as a retailer, you're usually on an EDLC type program where there's no promotions. It's just every day you're buying as low as you can get, and then you're self-promoting off that EDLC cost. And my cost, the best cost that I could get at that time on a potato chip, made it very difficult to compete with, for example, the Fritos of the world promotionally. When they were coming in. So, and what I'm saying is, in private label, you want to have some parity between, I've always said about private label, you want to be the cheapest in the case, the best quality in the case, and ideally both if you can do it, which is very hard to do both, right? So, and if you can't do one of those three, it makes it hard to be in the space. So going back to my chip example, if my everyday price on chips was 2 for $5, but Frito was promoting their Lay's, at 2 for $4, who's going to buy my private label, right? I mean, so there's got to be, I have to be at, I don't know, $1.79 or 2 for $3 or somewhere underneath there. So it just got to a point where the promotions from what I'll call national or strong regional brands were so aggressive, it didn't even make sense for me to be in the category anymore, because those promotions were so frequent from a combination of brands that I just couldn't compete. But we still had eggs and milk and butter and bread and things like that, the key commodity type items that made sense for us to be in, and no one was really going to undercut us in those categories. So now, as I look at things, when I look at private label, I have a little different outlook, so to speak, to the inflationary period we're in. If you can still be one of those things where you're a value to the customer in the category that you're in, I think it makes a lot of sense. But I think the biggest challenge coming out of COVID, and through COVID for that matter, is that there's so much difficulty with the supply chain, right? As far as whether you're talking about packaging or ingredients or what have you, that it's made it hard to some of these private label manufacturers are having to pick and choose what orders they're filling, because the supplies, whether it's the product itself or the packaging, they can't get enough to supply all their customers, so they're having to drop some of the smaller volume customers. And that's the other piece. And so I don't ramble on too much, is that a lot of times one of the challenges with private label is the packaging commitment, as far as how much packaging you have to commit to make a run, to make it worthwhile. And the example I would give you with that for me at the time was ice cream. Being able to have a reasonable portfolio of at least 6 to 12 flavors, and your 12th flavor doesn't sell nearly as well as your number one flavor. So when you're looking at packaging, and you're buying vanilla, it's easy to turn that packaging. But then when you're looking at, I don't know, I'm making some Alex's Crunch or something like that, it's flavor number 12, you're not turning it as fast, but the minimum package run is so great that you're buying a 2-year supply. And then when you want to discontinue it, you're either eating the packaging or you're struggling. It's a struggle. So there's a lot to take in there as far as that goes.
So I'll jump on the other side of that one if we have time. I mean, so, Alex, you went through this, if there is someone who says, hey, can you produce me your product at private label? It's the same thing as trying to get into Walmart or Costco for a small brand, right? Suddenly, do you have the production time to be able to produce it? Do they want the same kind of bottle? Will their kind of label fit on your bottle, or package or whatever it is? Suddenly you're faced with, how do you produce this? And, how do you produce that and not cannibalize your own line at the same time? Okay. Your own, not just your production, but even on the shelf, especially if it's a volume, of someone who offers volume and is smart about, and I think we know who we're talking about. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, who's smart about private label and uses almost only private label. Your own brand's not going to have the legs, because you're going to be putting all your time and effort into that private label. So, that's the other side of, for a young brand who says, hey, I've got this option. Well, it better be the kind of option that you can grow with like anything else. You can't just go from being a $1 million brand to suddenly being in 2,500 Walmarts. You're going to struggle, and it's the same thing with being private label.
Yeah, exactly. I think because we're running out of time here, but on the other part too is that a brand is not able to build their brand when it's private label. You just and so there's less notoriety. So if you're selling at this retailer, sure, the volume could be great, the margin's probably going to be lower. You're going to pad your stats with some revenue. But as soon as they take you out, if they do take you out, or even if you stay in, no one will ever know what the brand was, who is behind it, who is making it.
It's the story.
Exactly. And then like the investors, if you have investors or VCs, they're going to be like, well, what the value beyond the revenue is the brand and the brand equity. Because if, if Mondelez buys a company, whether it's a chip, whether it's a drink, they want the brand, they're buying the brand. And so when they get that brand, they can blow it out and put it into 7-Elevens or CVS's. There's got to be brand recognition. I do want to note one thing that I'm seeing at Trader Joe. I think that was the word you were going to say, Tom. I already said it earlier, so the cat's out of the bag.
Alex is always willing to call people out. I try to be nicer.
Yeah, I'm actually not even calling him out. I love their model. I mean, I love that because the pricing is lower,
right?
The quality is great. Any supplier knows going in what Trader Joe's is going to. They're like, we're going to have our brand name on it 9 times out of 10. But guess what? We're going to order a shitload of product from you because our shoppers are loyal. And one of my friends used to sell bread to them. He sold his company to someone else. He owned it for 25 years. But he said, the Fearless Flyer you see at Trader Joe's at the front? He said when the Fearless Flyer came out, their volume went up over 100% that weekend.
Wow.
Crazy loyalty.
Crazy
Trader
numbers,
Joe's.
crazy numbers.
They do crazy numbers. I mean, I know brands doing at least 10 million there with one SKU, because people buy up so much at Trader Joe's. But then, the other thing I want to mention too is if you're going to do private label and you're a brand, I wouldn't recommend doing eggs or milk or some kind of commodity. I like private label brands, and I think it's a great move when there's a wave starting to crest on a certain trend and they jump in on that trend. And maybe there's 1 or 2 other brands that are in the retailer and it's starting to grow. And then they get in on it. And then the wave starts to really grow. And I think a great example of that is the wellness shots at Trader Joe's. They released it during the pandemic. It was starting to grow. Whoever supplies them, I can guess probably who does it. I recognize the cap on the bottle, but they took advantage of that growth, and there weren't like 10 shots on the shelf. It wasn't a commodity. I love that kind of model, and I think it works but like you said, the brand has to be able to support it financially, right? To make a whole new label, bottle, the amount of production, because private label moves a lot because the price is lower and people like to buy store brands. So these are all things to consider.
Alex, before we move on, I wanted to at least there's a couple on here that joined, at least hit them up here. Lori Volk was on here. I missed her when she jumped in a little bit earlier.
She already messaged me.
Did she? Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle Malloy Birchfield.
Hi, Michelle.
We saw Kenny on here. And then I thought there was something else on here. There's a lot of comments about the private label from Kenny and Lex, and Stuart's on here.
What's up, Stuart? And I will mention really quickly, I'm going to mention it much more in June. Next Level Summits. Tom, if you can, swing by Next Level Summits. It's in Scottsdale, Arizona. Yep. It's at the Hilton, yeah. I believe. And so I was there last year. Great event.
Sorry, the Hyatt.
The Hyatt. Yeah.
Grand Plaza Hyatt. Yes.
Yep. So we're going to have more information on it getting into June about where it is, when it is. We're going to post it here in the comments. But if you just Google Next Level Summits, you can find it. You can find the date. You can find the location. They have great, guest speakers such as me will be there, and others. It's a 2-day, I believe, at least a 2-day, almost a 3-day event at this point, and it's growing in popularity. So check out Next Level Summits starting in June. We're going to start really promoting it on the show. So. Any other comments here, Wade, that we want to?
I think I hit everybody. I think I hit everybody that I could without backtracking too much in conversation. So I think we're in a good place.
And I'm just going to shout out to Hank. He asked about joining the Orbit. Just give me a call, Hank. I'll tell you about joining Brandjectory, and we can go from there.
Yep, and a couple other.
That goes for everybody. Just reach out to us.
Yep, and we're gonna at the very end we're gonna post again website. So while we're on that subject, Tom, email to reach out.
Tom at brandjectory.com.
Perfect.
He's a
all right. And brandjectorynow.com, right?
Brandjectory.com.
You dropped the now.
The website is brandjectorynow.com.
Yes. And then your email, Tom at brandjectory.com. Okay. All right. So some other comments. I just want to make sure I'd be remiss we didn't mention these. Lori Volk's been trying to get into Trader Joe's for 12 years. It's tough. I would, one thing I recommend, because I know how they work, is they look for innovation and what's next. So innovating something specially for them, is it putting in hemp into lemonade, whatever, something that's on trend, functional ingredients in the lemonade. These are all things that they're very receptive to. But what I've learned is with Trader Joe's, you basically have the one shot, right? You say, this is what it is. Either they go, yay, nay, and they move on. That's just their personality. Store Press, there it is. Hyatt Gainey Ranch for Next Level Summits. Couple more. Andrew Arbogast to say for next CPG Vibes, what are standard average co-packer margins? And because we want to mention our sponsor again, Bard Stoops is asking, who is this week's sponsor again? That is Nature's Wildberry, Hank Watt. All right. Next segment we're going to get into is stuff we love.
Can I call out Michelle there, please?
Oh, sure. Let's go back.
Am I allowed to do that?
Absolutely. No. I mean, you're a co-host.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle.
Anyone interested in Brandjectory should pursue. It's been an amazing learning experience for me. That's Michelle Birchfield. All right.
Thank you so much.
Got a lot of love on the show. All right. So next segment is stuff we love. I'm really excited to share mine today, Wade, but I'm going to go last.
All right. I'll make it easy because I've been sipping on it throughout the show, and your buddy Gavin Lind will appreciate this. I've been drinking this Hoplark hop tea, and I enjoy that a lot. It's very good. That's all I got. I'm still getting situated here. I'm still getting situated here, Alex.
I got great stuff to show.
All right, go for it.
Okay, Hanny's Harvest. I don't know if you guys know it. Apple cider vinegars and tonics. These things are fantastic. Hanny Awaldi and Adina Saperstein. They're sweet fire on broccoli. They've got a California Reaper that's a little spicy. That's great with pasta. And their elderberry, we pour it on oatmeal and vanilla yogurt. It's just wonderful. I'm also going to shout out Taylor Smith, Roma. You guys know Taylor? This is almond butter mixed with lentils. She made it for her grandmother when her grandmother was getting older. Something her grandmother could eat that was high protein, good stuff. Almond butter. It comes in coconut. Susan's like Pooh Bear with this stuff. It comes in coconut and mint chip, and they're just fantastic. I'm going to keep going here. I'm doing these fast. You guys know Sarah Mize at Humble Seed?
Yep, I know that one.
Seed flour crackers. These things are very addictive. I can't get enough of these. Susan can't get enough of these. They're great with everything, and they are absolutely delicious. And last one, Good Day Pasta, Pastabilities, John and Carrie Aaron, okay? It's a wheat-based pasta, so it's not gluten-free, but they use a number of different proteins, a number of different fibers. They have less grams than chickpea pasta. I don't know if anybody can read that. I don't know if I can get it in front of the screen. They have less grams than chickpea pasta. This stuff is absolutely delicious. It stays better together than chickpea pasta, and that's what we love about it. They are at Whole Foods, Humble Seeds, it's at Sprouts. I don't think the other ones are. I'm not sure where Taylor is right now, but that's my list for today. And thank you for letting me do so many of them. A lot of shots. They're all on Brandjectory. If you're an investor watching, come to Brandjectory. You can find them.
All right,
you get set up with Brandjectory.
Cool. Love it. All right, so I'm just going to show one mud water.
I love that one. I love that one.
We said it on the show before, but I mixed this in with Rising Tide and a little bit of honey.
Yep, that's my jam. I think I told you to do that.
I stole it.
Yes, it's so good. So good.
Yeah. Either I stole it or we're just on the same wavelength and we both independently, it's like, twins separated at birth, but they're doing the same thing, 30 years later. That's basically me and Wade here. And so I get really hot water, steaming hot, and I put in the powder, what is that? Not just powder. That's not a good way to term it. The mud water. And I also put in Rising Tide, honey, mix it together, add a little bit of cold water or nut milk. It's decadent, Wade. I mean, it's literally tastes amazing, and you get all the mushrooms and all that, and all the functional ingredient, all the functional benefits. So, and it works.
That's
like
awesome.
I feel way more centered. So it does work. Have you tried the other mud waters, like the matcha or the turmeric?
I tried the that one's called
Rise.
It's Rise and Rest is the other one. I've tried. That's the only other one I've tried because they've came out with at least one, if not two more, since I've tried those. So
How's Rest?
It's good. I mean, I think for me, regardless if you look at the morning, which Rise is what you have, or Rest, a lot of that is the ritual, and I think that's aside from the caffeine in coffee. I think that's what a lot of people like about it's that whole ritual, right? It's just sitting down with that cup and holding it, getting your hands warm and all that stuff. Kind of the same thing in the evening. It's kind of like your wind down, sipping, you got your feet up and relaxing. And then obviously all the functional ingredients are helping with that. So just terrific stuff. Great
Nothing
brand.
like exactly. Yeah, I really in love with this brand. It's not cheap. It's $40-$50 to get one of these canisters.
And their marketing is really cool too. I mean, the commercials and stuff they do. If you haven't checked them out on YouTube, some of the stuff they put out there is pretty interesting.
Cool. All right, the last segment, because we're starting to go a little bit over time. This is Thursday freebies. I'm going to try to say Thursday over the voiceover that's Friday. All right, hold on. I'll have to time this. Hold on. Thursday. All right. Did that cover it all?
Valiant effort.
Can I give away a 2-month subscription to Liftoff, to our Liftoff program?
Can you or should you?
Should I? Can I? I will.
Yes,
I'll give away a subscription 2 months of our Liftoff program, meetings and the orbit and some articles. So I'm happy to do that.
I think we've got plenty of people on here that would be interested in that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so will it be two separate prizes, Wade, or are we just going to group it all in one?
Why don't we? Let's do two, only because just in case someone without a brand, we'll let them pick and then figure. How's that sound? Does that sound good?
Sounds good. It's a good backup plan.
All right. So, do you want to do the ongoing sponsor first, and then I'll get the this week's queued up?
Absolutely. All right. So our ongoing sponsor, just spoke to him earlier today. So the man is alive and well. I don't know why I said that. Is Luke Abbott at V Driven. So I don't know why it's such a funny comment. luke.abbott, ABBOTT at vdriven.com. A little bit about vdriven. I love these guys. Luke is just a wonderful, nice, honest, just transparent human being.
Good friend of
And
Brandjectory.
a good friend of Brandjectory, as he should be. And he's a CPG partner for emerging purpose-driven brands. They fuel growth and innovation. They fight all the bullshit chargebacks that are happening in this industry. That wasn't from them. That was from me. They have a master sales organization. They know buyers. They reach out to buyers to get you meetings. Luke seems to have like a dinner meeting every other night with a buyer. He travels across the country, and his main focus is building relationships, right? Just like Tom at Brandjectory, building relationships, helping the network. So he does that. He's very well connected, and he'll help you grow your brand. That's vdriven, V as in Victor, driven.com.
Excellent. So I have the pleasure of reading our sponsor this week, which is Hank Watt, who I think he's still in the chat, with Nature's Wild Berry. And again, if you haven't seen the Shark Tank episode from Hank just a few weeks ago, I don't think it's been a month yet. It's still pretty new. Please check it out. But Hank has been a friend of the show, a supporter of the show for a long time. We're happy that he's here with us this week. And he is giving away a $29.99 3-gram travel jar, their bestseller. It has 30 servings of their flavor-changing miracle berries, which temporarily turn sour, tart, fermented, or pickled things sweet for 15 to 20 minutes each. And so they can be treated as fun for foodies, paired with cocktails, or used to make healthy things like salads and green juice wellness shots taste much better. And again, Hank's great people. It's certainly a unique product, and see what the hype's about, because Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he get an offer from Every Shark?
I believe he did.
Yeah. So see what the hype's about. So he did a great product, and definitely interested to see as more people try it, what they think. It's very, very unique, and Hank's just a great person. So yeah, that's it. What do we got? Who's got questions? We've got answers, or hopefully our audience has answers.
The first part of the audience having answers is the co-hosts and the guests having questions. And the problem is I did not write down anything. So Tom, you know the drill. Do you have any questions?
I got one. It might be kind of the kind of thing you asked for. Should I go ahead?
And this will be for the Nature's Wild Berry, the first one. All right.
I mentioned that Susan and I were out when Alex called us to tell us he was off the shelf. We were at a park, and I mentioned a couple of names, a couple of mountains that we could see at that park where we were walking, and a couple of mountains. If anybody can name any one of those things, the mountains, I think there were 3 mountains I mentioned, and the name of the park, if somebody has those. One of them's easy as crap.
So all you need is one.
All you need is one. I think that's fair. If you know Arizona, you know what.
I think Stored Press is going to probably win this one because he visits Scottsdale.
I see. I don't know how you guys see it. I see somebody coming in with the answer. Yep, that's who I saw.
All right. So I think Andrew Arbogast, he wins the Nature's Wild Berry.
Well, no, we were going to give him a choice, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. The choice. Because he is a brand. He is a brand.
So, yeah, Andrew, you have your choice of the Brandjectory. What is it again, Tom?
The 2-month subscription to our Liftoff program, which gets you a chance to meet with a couple of mentors, invitations to our monthly meetings, and listing your raise if you're raising on the brand raising list, which goes out to 650 investors every 2 weeks and is always available to investors on the platform.
So, Andrew, you got your choice of that, or you can try the Nature's Wild Berries. There he goes.
Brandjectory.
Andrew will reach out to you. Alex will send me your email, and or you can send me a note directly at Tom at Brandjectory, and we'll get you signed up and ready to go.
Right on.
And if you cpgvibes100@gmail.com, like to go that route, or as Tom mentioned, you can email him directly. So I guess the Brandjectory prize is taken, for the record. So now it is Nature's Wild Berry. And the question I have, in the same vein of what you were talking about, the story, Tom, about you and Susan. So Susan, one big clue. Susan lived in California, and there was a certain store that she went to in a certain city. What was that store and what city? It's hard.
Alex always goes for the hard ones. He always goes for the hard ones.
Could help if we said what school she went to out there. That make it probably pretty clear for a lot of people.
That would get very narrowed down. Very narrowed down. All right, so it is I'm going to narrow it down a little more. It's in Northern California. Being so generous here. And it is a natural store. That's all I'm going to give, because it's Nature's Wildberry. Got to work for it.
I was going to say, this is a big prize. I mean, if you go to the website right now, they're actually sold out because of their demand right now. So this might be a collector's edition here, Nature's Wildberry, because they're so hard to get right now.
Somebody could just go to Susan's LinkedIn profile and figure it out.
Yeah, where she lived, right, for 5 years?
Yeah, for 5 years.
That should have been the question, actually.
I don't know if you could hear her laughing. She's cracking up.
Right? Oh, I can.
You can? Okay.
All right, so I don't see any answers coming in. So it is a Whole Foods. Which Whole Foods is it? Northern California.
What city? Where a large college is located.
And a large company.
And several large
Actually,
companies.
no, they moved. No, sorry.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tech.
A lot of tech. Heart of Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Man, Hank, we got him stumped here.
Think of tall trees. For those of you who know Spanish.
Oh, there, we might have one.
Chris
Paulson.
Yeah. Chris Paulson. There we go.
I think the tech thing kind of unlocked a lot of answers. It's somewhere in NorCal in that Silicon Valley area.
Oh, see, now they're coming in Sacramento, San Jose.
Yeah. Everything, all the cities there.
Humboldt. Somebody said Humboldt.
I love Humboldt. I drove through the red, through the red trees up there. It's amazing. So, all right. So, Chris Paulson, you are the proud winner of a sold out, not even in stock. So you're probably getting it from Hank's Pantry. He's going to personally deliver it. So make sure to email cpgvibes100@gmail.com. And then, Tom, one more time, just website and your email.
It's www.brandjectorynow.com. Tom@brandjectory.com is my email address. Happy to talk to anybody. Love Wade. Love Alex. We're here to help. We're a business. We charge money for what we do, but we don't charge a lot. Because we want to make sure brands get these chances, and that's what we do, and that's what we're about. And Alex will testify that we really do care about the people we work with. So we're here. Reach out.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. All right. And also some things before we go, just for next week. Next week, we're going to be back to our regular scheduled program. June 2nd, we have the sponsor Neolea, which is a very, very high-end olive oil and aged balsamic vinegar. I think it's worth it's got to be in the thousands. I'm kidding, but it's definitely this is like $30-$40 a bottle. You don't find these at grocery outlet. Maybe you do. Who knows?
Alex, we'll have an offline to talk later about. We might need to do a different day, but we'll see.
Okay.
I will be driving back to Ohio, and during the time of the show, my guess is I'm going to be somewhere in the mountains of West Virginia, and reception will be very poor. So we'll put an asterisk there. We'll see. TBD.
That'll make for a great show where you're cutting in and out every 5 seconds.
Yes.
That'll take us fantastic. It'll take us back to the early days of StreamYard when nothing worked.
Right. Exactly.
We use StreamYard for our broadcasting here through LinkedIn, and they're great now. We love them now. So please sponsor our show. TBD on the day, either Friday, might be Thursday again. And then we have some great guests coming up down the pike. We have Tyler Watson with Dano's Seasoning. We have a potential pitch slam here. And again, it's not in stone yet, but we're working on that. I'm working on getting some investment money behind that where someone wins actual cash prizes. We have Yuval Selik. We have Sandra Rocco at Sanzo. We have Hank Watt coming up, Jonathan Bennell, Luke Abbott, the BevNet guys. We got a really stacked schedule here. So again, if you'd like to sponsor our show and be a brand where we mention you 3 times, not once, not twice, 3 times, it's $350 for an intro sponsorship, cpgvibes100@gmail.com, and it's filling up quick. Guys, what are you doing for the weekend before we go? That's our last kind of tradition we ask.
I'll let Tom go first. He's the guest.
I think we'll be doing pretty much the traditional stuff. I mean, one of the things on Memorial Day, I usually try to get to the National Cemetery and be there for the service in the morning. I've met a lot of great veterans there over the years. One who just recently died, 103. And he was a survivor of the Bataan Death March, and had the opportunity to shake his hand one time. So it's a meaningful holiday for us, and we enjoy it, and we enjoy just the fact that it's the holiday weekend. And shout out, I get to spend it with Susan Bryanton, who is the absolute thrill of everything in my life. So one more shout out to her. She's not here in the screen because she doesn't like that all the time, but she is the person that keeps me going every day. So shout out to her special.
You make me cry here. All right, so that's beautiful, well said. And I'll be going to Sequoia National Park, which I believe is closed because of the weather.
Yeah.
So there's I think it's called Kings National Park. Kings Canyon.
Oh, so my God, that is fantastic. Oh, wow. I'm jealous. I really am jealous. That's fantastic.
It'll be the first time that our son, 7-month-old Aaron, will see a national park. That's going to be amazing. He loves looking at trees here in Redondo Beach. I can only imagine what's going to happen when we take him to a national park. He's going to be overwhelmed in a good way. So that's what we're doing. Wade, how about you?
I think we're probably going to be doing some more around here, getting the house situated. And I'm sure we'll hear some live music somewhere, and just enjoying the long 3-day weekend. And like I said, next weekend we have to make the trip back to Ohio for graduation. So lots to take care of this week before we get up there. And that's it.
Cool. And there's a DJ appearance as promised. He is enormous. He was like this big when he first sent photos to me of him. Beautiful dog, DJ. And he's a doodle, right?
Golden doodle.
Doodle.
Mini golden doodle. But he's about 40 pounds. So he's a handful.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right. Well, thank you, Tom, for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Tom.
And thanks to everybody on the show. Wonderful to hear from everybody here. And thanks for some of the nice comments. I saw a few of them, and they choked me and Susan up. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Have fun. Have a great weekend.
Vibes.
Be safe.
And we'll see you next week. This has been episode 69 with Tom Malengo with Brandjectory. Take care, everyone. Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
Bye-bye.